All right, Bills mini bye week now over. It seems like forever since we were talking about the Buffalo Bills. They got the Saints up next. Welcome to the Buffalo End Zone Podcast. Kevin Carroll, Andy Young with you as usual. And when you look at this on paper, this one, Andy, pretty one-sided affair.
Usually we save the point spreads for the end of this, but the Bills are like 16.5 point favorites, and it seems like it's going up because the Saints are not very good. The Bills are excellent, and this would lead one to believe this is one of those games where the Bills can just go out and hammer an opponent the way they're supposed to, and nobody has any lingering questions at the end unless there's injuries about who this team is and what they need to do. All of it, as you said, on paper, but the Saints are marching in, and they should be marching right back to New Orleans with a loss.
Andy, sometimes when we get into this, we talk about the negative stuff a little bit too much. But I want to say off the top here, you're coming off a game where you were supposed to throttle the Miami Dolphins, but it was closer than you wanted. But at the end of the day, that's the Dolphins. That's from the AFC East. This is a team that, like other teams in past years that have come in to Highmark Stadium as a lesser opponent, that this Bills team, where they are right now, say, we're going to go out there, we're going to take care of business. We should easily get past this team. And off the jump, I mean, just start with the offense against the Saints defense alone and what the Seahawks were able to do to them in week 3. This should be easy sailing for Josh Allen and company.
Yeah, I think looking back at it, we didn't give the Dolphins quite enough credit. That still was a 10-point game. It's hard to win by double digits in the NFL. The spread was 12 or 12.5 for that game. The Bills win by 10. It is what it is. But I think this is a game where the Bills can just go out there and name their score, right? They should be able to go put up 35, 38 points, no problem, against this Saints team that has some talented players, but it's just not a team that has any sort of depth. And obviously their quarterback situation is a mess. So to my mind, the Bills offense should be able to go out there and do what they want to do and roll up points like they have at a historic level in terms of efficiency, keeping the ball on their side.
Yeah. Josh
Allen kind of doing the everybody eats thing. There's been some criticism levied that the Bills haven't gone downfield enough. Mm-hmm. They just really haven't had to.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, against the Ravens, you'd like to open things up, but when you're running the football against other teams, like you did against the Jets, like you did against the Dolphins, and James Cook is doing what he does, and Allen is playing mistake-free football. The knock was, for so long, Allen is spectacular, but he doesn't turn the ball over.
That amped up Josh Allen. Remember early
Sugar high Josh
who would just get amped up and issues would happen. I'm one of those sports guys, Andy, that I believe in sports jinxes, like with a perfect. And when I hear how long it's been since the Bills have turned the ball over, it's just amazing to me. And you're going into a game against an inferior opponent. You're at your home stadium, Andy, where they've won 13 straight regular season games. This goes all the way back to November of 2023 when they lost to the Broncos on that ugly Monday Night Football game. And that was the last time that they lost at Highmark Stadium. And, of course, this is the final year at the current Highmark Stadium, so wouldn't it be nice to not lose a game there?
Look, this Bills offense is operating at a different kind of level, and they're playing chess instead of checkers in some ways, right? Like, okay, you're going to play too high safety because you don't want Josh Allen to beat you over the top. Fine. We'll run the ball. We'll beat you up physically because their offensive line and their tight ends like to do that. They love to do it. Throw some stats your way. The Bills have won the turnover margin in 25 straight games.
That's incredible.
That's insane, right? They are the first team in NFL history to start 3-0, score over 100 points with no turnovers, less than 15 penalties, and average 150 rush yards and 250 pass yards over that span. It's incredible. Like, sometimes we get into these like, oh, these stats are made up, these records are made up.
Right.
But if you look at how that's all playing out, it's amazing. And for Allen and Brady and the entire crew to figure out, look, we're going to just play smart, mistake-free football. When Josh needs to be MVP Josh, he turns it on. And we're going to wait for the other team to make mistakes. And that, for the most part, has worked. Of course, against Baltimore, you get in a hole. You don't want to see that. But at the end of that game, when Josh needed to turn it on and go crazy, he did.
Yeah, and Andy, the Bills as a team lead the league in rushing. James Cook second in the league in rushing, Andy. And we've been talking a lot lately. James Cook gets that new contract. We were wondering, are you going to see more James Cook during the game, or are they going to keep, working with guys through? Ray Davis didn't do anything in the game against the Dolphins, and James Cook has just been lighting it up. 4 touchdowns as well for him on the season.
Which is tied for the most rushing touchdowns in the NFL with a quarterback, not named Josh Allen, but Jalen Hurts. Right? So they're doing all the right things. Like, this offense, in some regards, runs through James Cook. And there was so much talk in the offseason about Cook wanting to get paid like a top running back. Well, he got paid. He's not quite the top paid running back, but he's in that top 5, top 10 consideration. But also, did the Bills want to pay for a guy that only plays 45, 48% of the snaps? Well, so far, that's kind of changed a little bit for the Bills, and his snap counts are up. His percentage, his carry share has certainly gone up, and I think it's really interesting to see the way that they have handled that. I mean, he played 67% of the snaps against Miami. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, you want to have your best players on the field.
Mm-hmm.
There is concern. I've heard talk of worries. I think about it too. Is there any point, because he's not the biggest guy in the world, does he break down if you continue to give him a higher share? But at the same time, we've seen it. He can break one anytime.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that fine line between using him too much, not enough. Have they found a sweet spot? Perhaps.
Ryan Vandermark working with the first team because Spencer Brown, and he popped up on the injury report. Is there any concern there? From my point of view, it doesn't look like a big deal after seeing Spencer Brown after practice.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a huge concern. I think it's nice to have something pop up in a game and just give guys veteran days off if they're got some nagging issues, especially against this opponent. Look, the Bills can't take the Saints lightly, but we sure can.
Is it worth just telling Spencer Brown, and we'll get into the defensive side in a little bit, saying this is the Saints, get better for the following week when the Patriots come to town?
I think if he's okay and he's healthy, like, play him. But
Okay.
if he's dealing with some nagging thing, that's not the worst idea in the world. Like, that's why you've built this team, to have depth. And if you need to give him a breather, give him a break, let him have a week, I think they'll still be okay.
So that's I don't think there's any concern, Andy, with how the offense is going to perform. The defense, on the other hand, again, should be able to take care of business against the Saints, but there are still some things that the Bills are working on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to get into that after a quick break. All right, Andy, let's take a look at the defensive side of the ball. We were at practice. We were talking that ugliness of not being able to get off the field on third down is still floating around the Bills right now after the game against the Dolphins and the Ravens. Didn't look that bad against the New York Jets. But, man, if you're going out there against Spencer Rattler, who's 0-9 in all of his starts in his NFL career, if you're unable to get off the field on third down, and Andy and Coach Sean McDermott has said this too, they've looked good on first and second down. It's just the third down, and it continues to be frustrating when the pass rush, can't get home.
That's the whole issue, is getting home. And that's what we've talked about so many times in those games against the Chiefs. they can provide some pressure, and they've done that so far this season. They've got guys who create pressure, but you got to finish. You got to get to the guy, get him down. We hear so often, and we've heard it for years, that the more important thing is to create pressure, get the quarterback off their mark. It's just as good as a sack, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't necessarily apply in today's NFL because the quarterbacks are so good at being mobile and extending plays. So if you pressure a guy, but then you let him leak out and complete a pass down the field,
Right.
or let Lamar Jackson or even Tua last week
Tua was doing it a lot last
run for first downs, well, it didn't work because you pressured him, but you didn't sack him or tackle him short of the first down marker. So that has to get better. You need more out of Greg Rousseau. I think Bosa's been fine, although his snap counts are really high. That is concerning to me.
A.J. Epinesa lands on the injury report, too.
Yeah, I think it was.
But he was limited.
Right, with a pec.
Yeah.
That's another case of, all right, maybe he gets banged up and you give Landon Jackson a jersey this coming week and let him make his NFL debut if you don't think we absolutely need him against the Saints. We can talk like that again. Teams will never publicly talk about that, but behind closed doors, you know that they do.
I become big into that. Like I used to kind of have that team mentality, Andy, but lately I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have to do that.
Right.
If I think that the Bills are going to blow out the New Orleans Saints,
You can say it.
I can say it and not be like, well, I'm still superstitious, big time, but still.
I get messages, and we do too, of fans saying, hold on, you're talking about 15-2 or the 1 seed. It's only week 3, blah, 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 blah. What we say has zero bearing on the game.
What about what chair you sit in while you're watching the game?
None of those things. So if we want to sit here and say they're going to go 17-0 or talk about the playoff picture or that they should blow out this team.
The 1 seed is locked up already going into week 4.
Fans, I understand they've been kind of conditioned for that mentality of, oh, we only do next game, next play, one day at a time. We're only focused on this. It doesn't matter what you're focused on.
Right.
If the Bills are focused on that, great. That's what they need to do. We can sit here all day long and pontificate about the future and what things could look like and those sorts of things because it, again, has no effect whatsoever on the outcome of a football game. And if it does, that's a problem for players and coaches because then maybe they're listening to us too much.
Yeah, we talk about the defensive line, Andy, and it keeps coming up that there has to be that marriage between the defensive line and the defensive backfield, and that has been lacking at times as well when you talk about those third downs is that, I mean, the defensive backfield, how long can you ask them to hold up with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? You know, if you have Tua running around and getting outside. So there is that marriage that needs to take place and get the play going sooner so the defensive backs have a better chance.
And I do think there is something to the idea that because they play so much zone, and that's often a spot where maybe it would be better to play man, that they're just not equipped to do that all the time. We talked about that last year against the Chiefs when they were banged up and injured, and you needed to go man defense because good quarterbacks are going to pick you apart sitting in zone and hanging back. You have to have the ability to go man and have a guy say, I'm going to stick to this guy, and I'm going to run with him. Now, if you're talking about 6, 7, 8 seconds after a snap and you're facing really fast receivers, that's hard for anybody to do. That's why it's the job of the front 4 and the front 7 to get home, right? If you're applying pressure and if you're blitzing, which I think the Bills actually and surprisingly have done a lot more blitzing than we think
It sure looks
this season. So that's a big part of this too, and that whole man coverage issue comes into play. And it's also a question of philosophically, do you back up too much in those situations? Do you need to play more press? Do you need to get in their faces more? I think those are all valid questions and concerns that should be levied towards Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich because this isn't like an aberration that they can't get off the field, especially in advantageous positions for the defense, which is like 3rd and 7 or longer. that's where most teams, a lot of teams at least, are pinning their ears back, and they're making it really difficult. Look at what the Lions did to the Ravens. Like, they had Lamar Jackson running for his life, and he had nowhere to run.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need to be able to provide to make it happen.
And hopefully they can get there later in the season, Andy, as we move on. We saw Maxwell Hairston, the top draft pick cornerback, doing a little more work with trainers as he ramps up. We're going into week 4, so he's on injured reserve, designated to return. He has to miss the 4 weeks, but it still looks like he's got some work to do before we're actually going to see him out there. But he's now out there doing stuff, running and doing drills. Not football drills.
Right. Maxwell Hairston is the guy they drafted with the idea that, hey, we need somebody that can be man with the athletic ability. This is exactly what we're talking about here. Benford, versatile, can do either, right? But Hairston's a guy with the athletic traits and capabilities to sit there and man and be able to run with somebody. You draft the fastest guy in the draft, in the combine, that's what that's for, to be able to run around with Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill. So to see Hairston continue to do more and more work on the side is promising, but at the same time, it's very limited work. We saw him working with a trainer. He's got a great big brace on his right knee, and it just doesn't look like he's quite there yet, spry enough, moving enough. He even winced a little bit as he was doing the band drill that I watched him as he's kind of walking in his back pedal with a trainer with a rubber band around his waist, kind of pulling him back. So there's some resistance to it. And I don't see where he's ready next week.
Right.
And Sean McDermott was asked, could he miss the entire season? And he gave kind of an answer that said, look, I don't want to cast doubt on him. We hope that he'll be back at some point. But there's a lot that goes into it. There's the mental side of it. There's the reps part of it, the practicing part of it that he hasn't had. He only basically practiced for a week in training camp before he went down. So he has missed a ton of time. It's the same thing we talked about with Cole Bishop and his issues. We've talked about it with Curtis Samuel, especially for rookies like Bishop last year and now Hairston this year. That's really hard to come back from. So even if he gets physically ready, it's the mental part of it too before they're going to feel comfortable in putting him out there.
We'll see as this goes on. Matt Milano, Ed Oliver, still not practicing. Something to keep an eye on as the week goes on. The other thing, Andy, to keep an eye on is the AFC, we'll call it playoff picture right now, has a bit of a different look. We're going to get into that in just a bit. All right, let's talk AFC picture right now, Andy. Things are very interesting at this point in time while we talk about the Bills getting ready for what looks to be a win against the Saints. The Bills' two nemesis, the Ravens and the Chiefs, meantime, Andy, both with just a win through 3 games. And now going head-to-head, one of those two teams might be in Dutch after this coming weekend.
That is another. We were talking
old school term.
Yeah, we were talking off air before this podcast started. Kevin used the word shellac in regards to what the Bills should do to the Saints, and I said that's a term that isn't used often enough.
No.
Going Dutch here. Might be in Dutch, right? Yeah, the AFC playoff picture is really interesting, and one of the Chiefs and Ravens are going to be in trouble. I wouldn't expect either of them to miss the playoffs, but whoever goes 1-3 in this game, it has a tough road to hoe and a nice climb to make. And you would think the way the Bills are playing, the way the Chargers are playing, the Colts, I don't know, but they're doing pretty well too, that getting to that 1 seed for those teams becomes that much more difficult. Because the way the schedule looks to me right now, I would want to say the Bills, at worst, would have 3, maybe 4 losses. That's at worst.
Yeah.
At the end of this. So at the ceiling of it, they're talking 16, 15 wins for the Bills, right? So the wide open door for the 1 seed is there right now for the Bills. This is the time to go out and take it. We've talked about it last week. We've talked about it all off season. This is that opportunity. What a game, by the way, the Lions and the Ravens had. That was incredible.
Andy, I fell asleep like right in the middle of the first quarter, woke up just in time for the fourth quarter to start. Such a fun ending to that game, too.
Derrick Henry fumbling again
Unreal.
in a key situation. He is known as a guy who almost never fumbles. I think for the first time in his career, he's fumbled in 3 straight games.
Yeah.
And it was a backbreaker.
Bad look on the sideline, too.
Yeah, man, he went nuts. And slams his helmet, falls down almost, going down onto the bench. And you could just see him going, oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's in his head right now. Like, can I hang on to the ball in these clutch moments? And before in that game, he was really good. Of course, he had another long touchdown run.
Yeah.
His kryptonite seems to be the Browns, for whatever reason, who have a really good defense and shut him down. I think he only had like 20-some yards against the Browns.
Crazy how the NFL works. How about this? If you're a Bills fan at home, who do you want to win this game? I've gone back and forth. I mean, the Chiefs are really the thorn in the Bills' side.
Yeah.
The Bills already beat the Ravens. So it'd be kind of interesting to see the Chiefs kind of really start to get buried, and maybe we can get into the Chargers in a second because the Chiefs aren't going to have an easy time. They already lost to the Chargers once.
I think you want the Chiefs to lose from the perspective of you already beat the Ravens, so you've got that tiebreaker with them, a half game up on them. Now the Ravens, to me, are the more dangerous team and could go on a run. But the Chiefs, I don't know. To me, they're starting to reach Steelers territory where they're not that good, but somehow they always figure out and find a way. The difference with them is they've got Patrick Mahomes. And so the Steelers have been doing this magic act of somehow figuring out how to get to the playoffs with also Rans at quarterback for the last 4 or 5 years since Roethlisberger left. And even at the end of Roethlisberger, he was no longer in his prime. With Mahomes, that's a different story. And that's the difference between, a Steelers team that might go 10-7 and a Chiefs team that somehow last year lost 1 game going into the playoffs or 2 games, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was 2, right? Because they didn't care against the Broncos.
The Broncos game I think that's how the Broncos got in to take on the Bills.
Right. So in essence, they lost 1 real game that they tried in last season, and it looked like, for all intents and purposes, they shouldn't have won at least half of those.
Yeah. Field goal doinks by the other team, crazy penalties at the end of games.
If you're the Bills, which team of the contenders in the AFC are you most afraid of?
Chargers.
Chargers. Okay. It's not Baltimore still?
And we'll get to the Chargers. They're another 3-0 team,
Chargers,
Andy.
yeah.
And Jim Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh has won wherever he went. It was just a matter of time for Jim Harbaugh to get the Chargers in position to contend. And I think they're there right now. I think Harbaugh's second year, the offense looks a little more spicy than it has before, and Justin Herbert's there. He's supposed to be or become one of these top-tier quarterbacks. This might be his time. I think the Colts, let's see how things play out with the Colts. That's still Danny Dimes at quarterback for them. Although I did hear them, now that he's in Indianapolis, calling him Indiana Jones
I like
now,
that.
which
That's
I
really good.
really liked. But to me, of the teams we're talking about here, it's the Chargers to me. And the Bills aren't going to play them, so they run into them in the playoffs. Having not seen anything from them might be a tough task.
It's hard for me to pick out just one because there's reasons to be pessimistic against any of them. Like the Ravens, for all their faults, and their run defense is really poor right now for some reason. They still represent like a really dangerous, tough matchup for the Bills, who almost needed a miracle to beat the Ravens in week 1 and needed a disaster against the Ravens in the playoffs.
Yep.
Mark Andrews.
Guy
last
hasn't
year.
been the same.
But maybe that's the Bills have the bugaboo over the Ravens like the Chiefs have it over the Bills. So, okay, if we're going to put the Ravens aside, the Chiefs just don't look good. They're going to get their receivers back, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy at some point, but they just don't look like a great team right now. But it's that same thing. Is there a mental block for the Bills in the playoffs against the Chiefs? The Chargers represent something completely new, and I really like that team.
Yeah.
They got a lot of nice pieces. I think Herbert is playing at a level maybe even just as good as Allen right now in that MVP conversation. I think those probably be 1-2 in a lot of people's eyes, especially after the Ravens lost and what the Lions were able to do to Lamar Jackson and having him struggle a little bit towards the end of that game. He had a nice game against the Lions, but fumbled a ball, was just running for his life, couldn't get rid of it, couldn't escape like he normally does. So the Chargers, with Herbert playing like he does, you like McConkey. Keenan Allen is back and playing well.
Keenan Allen looked like he was done for in Chicago. You get him back in the Chargers uniform, and boom, he's Keenan Allen once again.
And then Quentin Johnston has been unlocked a little bit. Still not super consistent, but he's been a threat and has caught some touchdown passes. The rookie running back, Amarian Hampton, looking good. They lost Rashawn Slater, one of their star tackles, and that hurts, obviously. Joe Alt, who's a high draft pick, moves from right tackle to left tackle and has been good over there too. I think just in the way that Harbaugh plays, they're going to be okay. So it's hard for me to believe in the Colts, like you said, because they've still got games against the Rams, against the Chargers coming up here in the next 4 weeks. If they knock off one or both of those, then we're like, all right, this team's really good. But again, to your point, it's Daniel Jones.
That would be, I mean,
no slight to the guy.
Right.
He's playing in the NFL, and I'm sitting here.
That would be some turnaround.
Yeah.
You know, the likes of his name, who was with the Vikings last year. Now he's in Seattle, Sam Darnold.
Right.
Know?
He's this year's Sam Darnold. A couple of years ago, it was Geno Smith when he first got to Seattle.
Right,
like these guys that are cast aside and then reclaim their careers later on. Bengals, I'm thinking they're probably cooked.
Yeah, with no Joe Burrow.
And I thought Browning obviously played pretty well when Burrow went out, but this past game, they looked horrible.
All right, Andy, we're going to take another break, get a check of your game day forecast, and then be right back.
We've had a lot of gray skies around this week, even some much-needed rain, but just in time for the big game on Sunday afternoon, it's looking pretty good. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Gilson with your Buffalo Bills game day forecast. Kickoff at 1 o'clock on Sunday, so if you're out early tailgating, you'll see plenty of sunshine. May not even need a sweatshirt for the morning hours if you're out there early before the game at 1 o'clock. Temperature starting out in the 60s with highs into the middle to upper 70s. Go Bills.
Okay, let's talk, Andy, about the weather. We just got the game day forecast right there. It's so nice to have a football game on a Sunday afternoon because the Bills have been playing at night so much, Andy. So you're going to get that early morning tailgate, and then game day just in general looks great for a late September football game.
There's something magical about fall.
Whoa, magical.
Orchard Park, New York, before we reach late October, that you just love those Sunday 1 o'clock games. People roll into the tailgates 6, 7 in the morning. You smell the grills going early.
The smell is fantastic.
People are making sausages and pancakes and doing all this stuff. Then they transition over to the finer fare.
Bloody Marys.
Oh, yeah, bloody. You would say that.
Of course I would.
Bloody Marys, mimosas, right?
I'm fine with a mimosa here and there.
A little buca in the coffee, right?
I had a breakfast beer once. It tasted like maple syrup and pancake batter. You could drink one of them.
Yeah.
And then halfway through the second one, you were like, I'm going to puke, and then you switch. But
I was a big fan of, in college, kegs and eggs.
oh, yeah.
We used to do that. That was outrageous. You do that on, like, St. Patrick's Day. Everybody
All
would
day.
skip class.
Yep.
Just demolish yourself all day long with green beer and eggs.
And
And whatever else.
Just what the body needs, Andy.
But like there's only a couple opportunities this season for a Sunday 1:00 Bills home game.
Yeah.
And for years, that's just what we did because the Bills stunk and they were never on primetime
And
games.
everyone hated, we're never on prime time. Now everyone's like, can we just get a 1:00 game? I got to work Monday morning.
Right. So Sunday 1:00 is nice because you get to the stadium, like from my perspective as a reporter, I get there, 3-4 hours before the game. So I'm getting there at 9, 10 o'clock, somewhere in there. You settle in, you do all the stuff that we need to do. You watch the game, do the post-game show, do this podcast after the game, and then it's like 7, 8 o'clock, and you're home.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And you can watch Sunday Night Football.
The Sunday Night Football games train wreck me from a personal perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're getting home at 2, 3 in the morning, then you can't sleep, and then you got to get up early the next day and still come to work. And it's the same way for fans, right? It's hard on people to do these night games. The atmosphere is awesome. It's really cool watching these night games. And obviously, from the fans' perspective, it's great because the team's good.
You just got to go into it with the mentality of Monday's going to be a tough morning, no regrets, and just dive right in. For this game, Andy.
You got some sick time, use it.
Right. We talked about this early. Bills minus 16, minus 16 and a half. Sounds ludicrous. Sounds like a college game, but I don't know. I just see the Bills just running away with this. And I mean, literally with the running game and just running away. And the defense stepping up against a quarterback who hasn't won an NFL game.
Sean McDermott's really good against new head coaches. Kellen Moore in there obviously has experience around the league, but new coach there for New Orleans. Young quarterbacks he's always been very successful against. So to me, 16.5 is a big ask, but this is one of those weeks where you could totally see them putting up a 41-10 kind of score. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know it's no fun to take the under, so I'm going to take the over in this, Andy, 48.5 points.
I think the Bills might almost do it by themselves.
Right. It's like one of those games. I can't remember who it was. It might have been a Dolphins game years ago where the Bills got to the over-under by themselves, like you just said.
They hit the number?
Yeah, they got over.
Yeah.
And, the Dolphins, I think it was the Dolphins. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. What are you going to do? Final score, Andy. The last time the Saints were here, they blew the doors off the Bills in the middle teens area right there.
Well, that was the game we were talking about last week. It was they got crushed and run all over by the Saints. Tyrod was the quarterback.
Yeah.
This is 17. And then the next week they benched him and put in Nathan Peterman and still got rocked by the Chargers.
Oh, I did not put two and two together there. And then Peterman throws 5 interceptions in 1 minute.
That was the end of him.
Yeah.
At least until they drafted Josh Allen and started him again.
Again.
The next year.
So I'm going to go with something like, I don't know, 42-10. I'm going to say is the final.
And I said 41-10.
And you said 41-10. So we're in the same ballpark right there, Andy. A lot going on, of course, around the NFL. We're going to get into that after a quick break coming up here. Hall of Fame nominees, Andy. First-time nominees and other nominees coming out before we recorded this podcast. Few Bills out there, or people who had stints with the Bills. LaShawn McCoy, running back, and running back Frank Gore are both on the list. That popped out to me.
There are some really good players in this class.
Yeah.
Is LaShawn McCoy a Hall of Famer? I think so.
I think so. I mean, he was so dominant in Philly when he was traded to Buffalo
For Kiko Alonso.
That was one of the biggest head scratchers of all time.
I'll remember that forever because I was covering Section 6 boys basketball championships at Buff State. And I'm shooting high school highlights. It's halftime, and I look at my phone, and it starts blowing up. And people are texting me, and I'm getting alerts on Twitter. The Bills traded for LaShawn McCoy. I'm like, what did they give up? Kiko Alonso. We all remember the legend of Kiko Alonso.
We don't need...
And what people do for Kiko Alonso jerseys.
Yeah, incredible.
But, I mean, if you look at this class, I mean, there's a ton of great players. Drew Brees, who was incredible, and the Saints are coming to town. Phillip Rivers, McNabb, McNair, Rich Gannon, Sean Alexander, who was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Charles. Do you remember how good he was for the Chiefs?
Absolutely.
He was unbelievable. Frank Gore, old friend. LaShawn McCoy. Jamal Lewis was awesome. Chris Johnson was awesome. Steven Jackson was awesome. Ricky Waters still hanging out there. And then wide receivers, Larry Fitzgerald, Torrey Holt, Chad Ochocinco Johnson. Like, it's wild. There's so many great players in this list.
You mentioned Drew Brees. You mentioned the Saints. Another connection with the former Saints star quarterback and kind of someone working with Josh Allen currently.
Yeah, I actually talked with Ronald Curry, the Bills quarterbacks coach, today as we're recording this on Wednesday for a feature coming up, just about his role with Josh Allen's continued growth now in his second season as the quarterbacks coach with the Bills and what he's seen from the MVP as he's continued to evolve and become this efficient, turnover-less machine while still having the high-end floor and ceiling that Josh Allen has. And for a time, he worked with Drew Brees in New Orleans under Sean Payton. He was an assistant on offense. He was a wide receivers coach, later became quarterbacks coach, I believe, the year after Brees retired. But it's really cool to just kind of hear his perspective on great players. And not for nothing, he was an amazing high school athlete, Ronald Curry was, who some people said was the best high school prospect they had ever evaluated, and goes to North Carolina. He's a two-sport athlete there, plays basketball and football, ends up in the NFL, not as a quarterback, but had a nice long career as a wide receiver and then became a coach. So look forward to that coming up later this week in the coming days on Spectrum News.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, Eli Manning, do we need to have this conversation every year? Does he belong in the Hall of Fame?
I think he does. I think the winning matters. The Super Bowls matter.
The 2 Super Bowls.
And the way that they happened. There's something about moments, too.
He owned the most dominant team during his playing career. He owned them, even during the regular season. Right. He did.
And there were years that he led the league in interceptions and all those sorts of things, but he also put up quite a bit of stats and had a long career. So I think while he's not his brother,
right,
some of these other legends, absolute shoo-ins, I think when people think back about the lore of the NFL, those moments in the Super Bowl matter.
Absolutely.
Right? Those games get more weight than other games.
Mm-hmm. Well, stick with the Giants real quick. Russell Wilson benched. Jackson Dart, Andy, going to be the starter. I went to college in Connecticut. I have a ton of New York Giants friends. And their general reaction to this is Brian Daboll should get fired right now. Someone should come in and say, Russell Wilson's staying the starter until Jackson Dart is ready. This is week 4. We do not want Jackson Dart starting.
That's completely the opposite of what I thought you were going to say.
I know. When they said that to me, I'm like, what are you Brian Daboll right now is basically in a position of saying, okay, this isn't working. I'm looking at the chopping block. We drafted this guy to be the starter, and I believe Daboll said something like, the future starts now.
Right. I mean, Russell Wilson, not good. Look at that game last week. The end of that game was pathetic. You got to try to provide a spark. Go down swinging. You're going to sit here and meander and hope Russell Wilson gets you a couple wins, but you still end up finishing 5-12. At least if you throw Jackson Dart, there's an opportunity for some change, and see what the guy's got. If you strike lightning in a bottle, then maybe you saved your job.
Yeah, and there you go. There are other big sports going on right now. We're going to dive into that before we go after another quick break. Love the NFL, Andy. Always look forward to it. But the Ryder Cup also going on this week. You and I both golf together all the time. I think I probably watch more golf than you do. I had made a comment earlier in the month that I just like the European team and those golfers way better than what the U.S. is putting out there.
You like them personally, or you like their golf game better?
I like their golf games better.
Fair enough.
And now when push comes to shove, I got to go USA, Andy. USA.
You've always been a patriot.
Yeah. Yeah. But, the whole time I'm like, I like Rory. I like Shane Lowry. So glad Tommy Fleetwood won, but we got to go U.S., right?
I just want to see them shine in those big moments where certain golfers maybe haven't in the past, but, like, how fun would it be to see, like, Bryson DeChambeau going crazy after making a big putt to win a match, whatever it is, or Scheffler doing what he needs to do?
It's almost to the point where I wish the Bills actually were playing Thursday night this week or Monday night, because you're going to love watching the end of that, but
you don't need to watch this game. The Bills will have it in the bag by halftime.
That's true. Then we can do a quick post-game show and wrap it all up. Andy, Sabres have started the preseason 2-0. Is that something to get excited about? No.
Stanley Cup on the way. I mean, it's promising, but it's the preseason.
It's better than 0-2.
Right. I don't know. It's hard to give those guys the benefit of the doubt. For Buffalo, for Western New York, you want them so badly to just make the playoffs, end this misery, make it look like you're finally turning the corner and actually do it. And for Lindy, right? Like, he doesn't want to go out like this.
I was talking to a new Bills beat reporter who was a Sabres beat reporter before, and he's like, don't even pay attention.
Lance Lysowski?
Yeah, I was talking to Lance, and he's like, don't even pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Just don't. It's preseason hockey.
Right.
They'll go undefeated and then drop the regular season open.
And you don't know who's going to play goaltender. There's some concern there with Ukko Pekka-Luukkonen's injury issues. They signed a couple of guys, Alex Lyon, Georgiev, however you say his name, and then what's going on with Devin Levi. So I just need to see it on the ice. I need to see them be in contention for a playoff spot at Christmas, at the New Year's break, because even if they're okay in November, we've seen them go on streaks and lose, and then they're toast by Thanksgiving.
Yeah, more importantly, Andy, Bills Saints coming up. Bills look for a perfect September to start the season, and we'll be back after the game against the Saints. 1 o'clock kickoff.
Can't wait.
Sunday.
Let's get it.
We are looking forward to that, and in the meantime,
what you watching?
I was just going to tell you, I watched Weapons. Have you heard about it?
No.
I knew you hadn't heard.
I don't hear about any.
It's basically a horror movie where kids all disappear in a neighborhood or in a town. No one knows where they went. They were all in one woman's class, so they blame her, and then craziness ensues, and that's that.
It's so funny, the divide between you and I, because I'm really up on pop culture. You're not so much, but I have no idea what's on TV or what movies are out.
That's all I do. I watch TV. We're going to take off, and we'll see you after the game coming up on Sunday.